Good afternoon. First of all, let me express my profound gratitude to be among you here today on this very special day, actually. Happy birthday to the Oasis Foundation and many, many happy returns of this very special day. In a world increasingly fragmented by cultural, religious, and political divisions, the urgent need for dialogue, understanding, and cooperation between the West and the Muslim world cannot be overstated. We are united. We are united by common challenges, conflict, migration, extremism, and environmental degradation, which transcend all boundaries of faith, race, or geography. It's my utmost honor to be here today representing AlZhar. For those of you who might not be very much aware of what AlZhar is, so let me explain very briefly that AlZhar is the second most or the second oldest educational institution in the whole world. It was established in 970. So since 1,084 years, it has been working on education and on awareness. In the very beginning, it focused only on Islamic studies, Islamic law, etc., and of course Arabic as a language. But almost 70 years ago, different modern subjects has also been introduced in this huge institution. So now we also teach medicine, engineering, pharmacy, languages, and I also, just as a doctor has just mentioned, that I studied and I am now teaching Urdu in the Faculty of Languages and Translation in AlZhar University. So it's not a mosque, because many people, they think that it's just a mosque. It's not only a university with 570,000 students, almost 63,046 foreigner students, but it's also a sector of schools with more than 400,000 students in these schools. It's also, there is a sector that's only concerned with Islamic research. It's called the Islamic Research Center, and many other sectors, but the most newly established sector is the one which I am very proud to be representing here today, and that's called AlZhar Observatory for Combating Extremism. AlZhar Observatory was established in 2015. We started only in 7 languages. They were English, German, French, Urdu, Persian, and Swahili. And then now we are working in 13 languages. Our main aim was to spot or monitor or observe any radical thought or ideology present everywhere, anywhere, on the social media, in the magazines, and even a message present anywhere that we can actually detect, and then present a counter narrative and publish it again in the very same language. Because what we always say, that of course we are basically an Islamic educational institution, so we need to help in awareness. We need all the Muslims to know what Islam actually is. Only 80% of Muslims are Arabs. So, sorry, 20% of Muslims are Arabs. So 80% of Muslims don't speak Arabic. So the largest population of Muslims live in Indonesia. The second largest population of Muslims live in Pakistan and India. So they won't know Arabic, or they won't know the Islamic texts directly from the Quran, from the Holy Book, but they will get it through someone. So if that someone or that entity is not honest enough, so of course the message won't be the same at all. So in short, this is what AlZhar Observatory is. So as the general director of this observatory, I have seen how misperceptions between the West and the Muslim world not only fuel extremism, but breed profound distrust. Our mission is to bridge these divides through awareness, through education and dialogue, dismantling the harmful narratives that extremists leverage. Today, I reflect on themes highlighted by the Oasis Foundation's recent statement, a statement that echoes our commitment at AlZhar to fostering peace and countering all forms of extremism. So, before delving into the geopolitical issues, I want to emphasize AlZhar's extensive collaborations with various religious, academic, and other institutions to promote peace and understanding. We have worked closely with the Coptic Catholic Institute of Theology, the Egyptian Family House, the WCC, the Emerging Peacemakers Forum. So we were talking about some of the very good examples earlier. Emerging Peacemakers Forum is one of those. This is an initiative that brings young people from East and West, 25 from East, 25 from West, and they sit together for almost a week. So the first edition was in Cambridge, the second edition was last year in Geneva in Switzerland. And let me tell you that I had the honor of interviewing the students who participated in the first edition that was in England. And luckily, those 25 young ones from different parts of the Arab world are now pioneers in many things. They are TV anchors, they are doctors, they are doing something. So you know that they were really emerging peacemakers, really. And the second edition was as successful. In line with our commitment to fostering global peace and understanding, the international tours of the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar have been pivotal in promoting the principles of human fraternity. These tours have facilitated profound dialogues with religious and civic leaders globally, underscoring our shared values and the universal desire for peace. The document on human fraternity, co-signed with the Vatican, stands as a testament to these efforts, offering a robust framework for interfaith harmony and collective action against extremism. This landmark document not only guides our initiatives, but also inspires a global movement toward ending religiously motivated violence. In addition, Al-Azhar's extensive cooperation with the Vatican, as I said, the World Council of Churches, the Evangelical Church, both within Egypt and internationally, illustrates our dedication to dialogue over domination. Our partnerships are rooted in our religious teachings and our steadfast belief in the critical importance of peaceful coexistence and cooperation, rather than control or hegemony. These collaborative efforts are essential in cultivating a culture of peace and mutual respect across different faiths and communities worldwide. And now to geopolitical divides and the Palestinian struggle. But let me first point out some of Al-Azhar's stances on the global level with the aim of being a part of the solution rather than the problem. Throughout its history, Al-Azhar played a key humanitarian role that champions human beings, regardless of their religious, national, or ethnic backgrounds. I'll mention two examples here. In 2017, Al-Azhar organized a conference titled Towards a Humanitarian Dialogue for Myanmar, or Burma. During this remarkable event, we addressed the multifaceted challenges facing the people of Myanmar, especially in light of its religious and ethnic diversity. We brought together scholars, diplomats, and most notably, young representatives from the Burmese society of all religions, Buddhism, Hinduism, and everything. Our main objective was to create a space for serious and open dialogue that could lead to effective solutions for the humanitarian crises in Myanmar. This was followed by tons of human aid sent by Al-Azhar to the refugee camps in Bangladesh. Al-Azhar Humanitarian Role has not been limited to these events, but at the Observatory, we are closely following up on the refugee crises. Worldwide, including the Rohingya, on a daily basis, we conduct studies, write reports, and hold interviews with the aim of putting an end to the cycle of violence inflicted on those marginalized people. Al-Azhar is also an active actor in Africa, in this forgotten part of the world where precious treasures are stolen, proxy wars are waged, hopes are dashed, and extremist groups are extremely active. We spare no effort to stop these plights by focusing on two main areas: education and health. On an annual basis, Al-Azhar sends scholars to different parts of the world, including Africa, to spread the message of peace and refute the misconceptions raised by radical groups in these countries. These scholars from different specialities engage with local Muslim communities and non-Muslim populations. In Africa, we build Islamic institutes and medical facilities, provide medical and financial aids, offer scholarships in Egypt at Al-Azhar and other universities, in addition to other forms of aid and assistance. In 2015, a collaborative initiative between Al-Azhar al-Sharif and the Muslim Council of Elders, which was entitled Peace Convoys, was launched. These convoys did their best to foster positive integration of Muslims into societies and combating extremism from an Islamic perspective. So we went to almost 23 countries. The Oasis Statement eliminates the deepening geopolitical chasm between the West and the Muslim world, particularly underscored by the conflicts in Ukraine and the Palestinian struggle. The contrast in the reception of Ukrainian refugees in Europe to that of refugees from primarily Muslim and more generally Southern Hemisphere nations starkly highlights global political double standards. At Al-Azhar, we stand unwaveringly with the Palestinian resistance against occupation, a stance rooted not in political alignment, but in the Islamic and human tenet of justice, the moral imperative to defend the oppressed. It's crucial to clarify a point. Our support is not for a political group or faction, but is rather for the broader cause against oppression and decades-long occupation. It's undeniable that resistance to occupation is a right and a duty, unequivocally enshrined by international law. The Palestinian plight is a global humanitarian issue that demands consistent application of international law and UN resolutions to foster trust and prevent further radicalization. Of the 2.2 million population of Gaza, how many do belong to Hamas? Only 30,000, as per the Israeli narrative itself. That is 1.3% of the total Gaza population. But how many have been killed in this year's aggression alone? More than 42,000, about half of whom are children and women. Collective punishment and practices bordering on a genocide are intolerable by any standard, religious, legal, or more importantly, human. Ladies and gentlemen, the tragedy of migration, a crisis that has turned the Mediterranean into a mass grave for those escaping adversity, is a collective human ordeal. Al-Azhar's perspective on migration is deeply rooted in Islamic teachings, which command hospitality and the safeguarding of dignity for the vulnerable. Yet, migration is symptomatic of broader crises: political instability, economic disparities, and environmental degradation. These root causes, especially in Africa, must be addressed to curb illegal migration and the spread of extremism. A human, comprehensive approach to migration is imperative for global stability. I'll mention just an example of Germany. For example, it illustrates the complexities. This example will illustrate the complexities of migration. Each year, over 1 million people die in Germany, while around 700,000 are born. Approximately 1.2 million people immigrate from Germany annually, including 1 million foreigners. Without immigration, Germany would lose 1.5 million people every year. which is equivalent to losing the population of the city of Munich every year. This underscores the need for a balanced, data-driven migration policies with a wider outlook in order to keep the total population of Europe constant at the present level. 47.4 million migrants would be necessary between the year 2000 and 2050, which an average of 949,000 migrants per year. This is according to the UN, United Nations. These facts underscore the Egyptian call for a balanced win-win approach to migration between migrant exporting and importing countries. The proposed solutions include well-regulated framework of temporary and permanent migration to ensure the best interests of all the parties involved. The Egyptian experience is quite inspiring here. Out of courtesy and compassion, official Egypt and the sweeping majority of Egyptians never use the word refugee. Rather, we call them guests. There is no one single refugee camp in Egypt. Rather, we share with our guests our homes, schools, hospitals, and universities. According to the UNHCR in Egypt, we have got 469,664 refugees only from Sudan, 157,673 from Syria, 45,079 from south of Sudan, 38,938 from Eritrea, 18,721 from Ethiopia, and many others, thousands from 54 other nationalities. Now, I would just like to talk about the climate change, which is, of course, a global responsibility. Recognizing climate change as a critical issue, the Oasis Foundation calls for Christian-Muslim collaboration to address environmental challenges, a call we at AlZhar wholeheartedly support. Being stewards of earth, as required by Muslim religious texts, it's our divine mandate to preserve the natural balance and safeguard our planet for future generations. The Quran warns us of the corruption brought by human hands to land, air, or sea, urging us to take decisive action. It's a moral and an ethical imperative for us as leaders of faith to spearhead initiatives that combat environmental degradation. Our Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, commanded us to save natural resources. He said, never squander water, even if you are on the banks of a running river. So I'm trying to make it a bit shorter, and in the end, I will only talk about the AlZhar stance against extremism. At the Observatory, we are vigilant about the misuse of political, social, and environmental crises by extremists. Our efforts focus on debunking the fallacious narrative of an inherent conflict between Islam and modernity. By fostering education and dialogue, we dismantle the ideological foundations that feed extremism. We advocate for understanding and unity over division, promoting shared values that can bridge the East and West. It's through initiatives like the House of the Egyptian Family House, Beit al-Aila al-Masriya, and the Makers of Peace Youth Program that we sow the seeds of tolerance and mutual respect. Of course, all of us here will agree that extremism is not the prerogative of any religion or culture. But I have been contacted by a number of young girls and women from Italy and other non-Muslim countries, and this is a point that I want to mention in the end, who complain of the discriminatory practices and harassments they sustain because of their headscarves. So it must be our agreed stance that a woman should be enabled and empowered to choose her attire and to have that choice respected and, if necessary, protected. As a Muslim woman, I know beyond the slightest doubt that my headscarf or hijab does not prevent me from fulfilling my duties. It didn't prevent me from coming here today and representing my institution or my center that I have been running since 3 years with more than 100 researchers, male researchers. nor it should be a reason or a pretext for others to harm me, either verbally, by action, by a gesture, or a mere look. Why would a discriminating person show respect to a hair-covering nun, but not a hijab-wearing Muslim woman? We also need to guard against state-sponsored discriminatory practices, as they would make societies boil and communities grow more isolated. Away from harmful practices and doctrines, integration starts with acceptance rather than with renunciation. Ladies and gentlemen, in closing, I propose that we embrace dialogue as our most potent tool for peace. Let us reject exclusionary ideologies and advocate for policies rooted in justice, equality, and human dignity. Let us all join forces to set right all the injustices in this world. AlZhar is committed to any initiative that fosters international collaboration towards these ends. Let us all further remember that peace is only achievable when it's for everyone. Otherwise, no one would enjoy peace, because injustice may well breed radicalization and violent extremism. Migration can be a bridge between nations rather than a way of continued brain drain. Supporting mutual projects, rolling back the impacts of climate change, extending a helping hand to bring about political and security stability, and transferring knowledge are among the possible and most reasonable ways forward. And I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Reham.